Hey guys, what's up? Me and Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, UFC. What's your? Is it featherweight? What's the
flyweight?
Flyweight champion of the world. 3 years in a few days. It'll be 3 years. You've been champ.
Yep.
We're talking about the rules of fanship and how people say we won, but they weren't really out there on the field. But I was going to argue the point that for me though, I call myself we with the Redskins all the time, but when we lose, I say we suck. Like, I carry the embarrassment of how bad the franchise is all the time. And in fact, not only do players of the team get paid to be a part of that bullshit that I pay money for, they also get traded and get to leave.
Yeah.
I never leave. I'm stuck. I'm stuck with the Redskins for life. I can't, you know, pick up a new team. So I sort of feel like I do get the right to say we. And sometimes when athletes say, like, sometimes there's a disconnect between athletes relating to what fans go through.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are some terrible fans that give you every right to feel that way.
Yeah.
But I think for every terrible fan, there's a real one who's like
absolutely
rides and dies for their squad.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to your sport, which is a little different, it being such an individual game. Do you have a lot of people out there? Are there people you hear from that, like, you are their sole interest in UFC, and they've, especially because you're a unique character, you're a small guy, 5'3", 125 pounds, in that range. You were born premature, right? Is that not true?
No.
So you're just small because you're small.
Yeah, I'm small. Yeah, I'm the run of the litter.
You're just the run. So people, are there a lot of people who reach out to you and like either identify or have made you an underdog? Like, let's talk about that.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously with my structure being 5'3" and only fighting at 125 pounds, obviously over in Japan and Manila, the Philippines over there, I'm considered a very tall man in that area. Over in the U.S., I think a lot of people will relate to me, especially guys who go through the same, I don't want to call it a struggle, but the same things I've gone through, obstacle courses in my high school era where, you know, I'm the smallest guy in the gym and I'm the last guy to get picked on a basketball team. So people relate to me on that, and to see I'm able to take my structure and be successful with it.
How often in high school do you have to fuck someone up because of your size? or at the time were you not able to do that?
You know, it's funny you ask that. I've only been in 2 fights outside of the octagon. Each time, first time I got in a fight was elementary. Me and this guy were arguing about WWF and the collegiate style wrestling, and I said, WWF is not fake, and I'll show you. And, you know, I tried to Stone Cold Stunning him. And then it actually turned into a fight. I won that one.
I'm so happy that you were on the right side of that fight. I thought it was going to do the opposite. No. I assumed because you're a competitive fighter, the fight was like you being like, nah, that shit's fake. And that's how the fight happened.
I was like, you think Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't break those people's necks? Them people are in the hospital right now, my friend. And then the second fight, a guy was irritating me, so I just punched him in the gym. And after I punched him, I sat down next to him and I said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. So,
you felt bad?
I felt real bad.
What about these days, though? Have you had situations since you've been a professional fighter in which someone is sleeping on you or kind of treating you disrespectfully, and you just kind of push it to the side because you're like, I don't want to lose my livelihood and go to jail because I messed this person up so bad?
No, that hasn't happened, but that's basically my mindset when it comes to stuff like that. I typically don't go to bars or go to the clubs just because that fact right there. Other than that, I haven't been put in a situation where I had to, you know, go to that level.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of the times when you interact with people, it's like thousands of people cheering you on, which is a totally different situation. In a huge arena filled with people who know that you could mess them up if you were ever in the situation. So talk a little bit about your childhood, though. I do know that you had an interesting upbringing, and things weren't always easy for you.
Yeah, you know, when I bring up my upbringing now, I think back about other people around the world. Everybody has their story. And for me, you know, I was raised in a house with, you know, 3, including myself, from a deaf mother, and I never knew she was deaf until I got into middle school. I met my sister for the first time, and you know.
Hold on, how'd you meet your sister for the first time in middle school? She was with a different dad.
She was with her dad.
She was living with her dad. Okay.
With her dad, and it was just me and my brother Selimar. And my mom was like, "Hey, Lana's coming down." I was like, "Who the fuck's Lana?" And then she goes, "So it's your sister." I was like, "Oh, all right, sounds good." And then she came, and that's how I met her for the first time. And she ended up telling me, she was, "You guys know Mom's deaf, right?" I was like, "No, she's not." She goes, "Yeah. Why do you think she has you do this and this and this?" I was like, it all makes sense. So, you know, we grew up, and I remember my mom, you know, we weren't the wealthiest family, and She would always make sure I had my football cleats for football practice.
When you say deaf, are we talking about completely deaf?
No, completely deaf as to the fact where if I'm talking to you like this, you see my lips moving, she can read me. But if I go, "What's going on, Mom?" She can't. She won't understand what I'm saying. She can feel vibrations and all that stuff, but when it
So
comes
she's basically, from an auditory standpoint, though, she can't hear anything.
Yeah, she can't hear anything.
It's not like she has 40% hearing.
Yeah, it's like what is the song? California by Tupac. Like she loves that song because she likes the vibration, the beats of it. Yeah, she likes that. So when the song comes on, when I'm a kid, you know that song where she goes, "Oh, this is my jam. This is California." I'm like, okay, sure, she's not deaf. But as I get older, she could tell by the vibration. So for me, when I try to sing, my wife's like, "Babe, you are fucking tone deaf." I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I like the vibrations. Like if I hear a song, if Drake comes out a new song, and the first thing I listen to is the beat. The beat's not good for me. I'm like, done. Don't care about it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Most songs, the only thing that makes a good song these days is the vibrations being good. So you fit right in. You fit right in the club. So was there any other impact on your upbringing from your mom being deaf?
No, I wouldn't say so. You know, Mom, she did whatever she wanted to, and for me, like I said, I didn't know she was deaf, and you know, when I did find out she didn't make any difference. You know, she was always my mom. And for me, I just did whatever I want to do. She just told me, don't let anybody say you can't do what you want to do for your size. And I just ran with it.
Where was your dad?
I never met him. So, I mean, a lot of people are like, you know, the typical picket white fence. You know, you have your dad, your mom, and your brothers. For me, I never seen a picture of my dad, and that's fine. You know, the man paid child support, did his duty, I guess you can say, and that's it as far as it goes.
But he did pay his child support.
Yeah, he paid his child
support.
Never showed up.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I feel like usually when you never show up, you don't do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like moral enough to know he had to pay his money.
Yeah.
But a big enough dick that he's like, I just don't ever want to meet you.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's a hard situation. Now that I'm a father of two and I'm married, I can never imagine I'd be in my kid's life or even skipping out, but like, hey, I'm gonna send you guys a check every month, but
I'm not going to come see you.
I'm not going to come see you, or you're never going to see me. So it's kind of interesting, but I'm a grown man now. It's life. Every man has their own choices, and I'm going to keep it pushing. I got to pay my own bills, and he's got to take care of himself, too.
Well, your bills are being well paid.
Yeah.
You have a nice, shiny title that you've been holding on to for 3 years.
Yeah.
I see that how often do you move around with the belt? Do you always move around with it?
This is the first time I've actually taken it on a press tour. So
really? You've never? Good. You should, man.
Yeah. Well, it's fucking heavy, and it's you know, you always stop at TSA and I want to know where you're going, and I'm like, can you mind your business? I need to go catch my flight. So I'm a very well reserved man to where I like, you know, my favorite superhero was Batman. Batman, he never won any, you know, praise. He just went in there, did his job, went home, probably sat down and had a nice dinner with Alfred. And that's the type of guy I am. You know, I show up to the fights, I fight my ass off, and I go home, take care of my family. Then when it's time for me to fight again, I get back in the gym, train, and go out there and fight.
Do you consider your wife a beautiful, feminine Alfred?
Absolutely.
She's your Alfred.
She's my Alfred, yeah.
So
and
nice.
then I have Robin, and I have two boys. So I have Robin and baby Robin. I was going to say Batgirl, but Maverick's not a girl.
Yeah. What are your kids' names?
Maverick and Tyron.
Maverick and what?
Tyron.
And Tyron?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's almost like Tywin Lannister. Did you get excited there, Griff? Game of Thrones reference. Not quite. How do you feel that the flyweight division is getting its due in UFC? Do you feel like that you get enough of a promotional push from UFC?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when everybody's like when it comes to like financial or pushes or marketing and all that stuff, is like, when is it enough? Like, what is that number? How many interviews should I be doing? How much money should I be making? How many flights should I be taking to go to different places? So for me, I think they're doing an amazing job. I mean, nowadays, you know, when I walked up to your studio, people who are driving, you know, the UPS truck was like, Demetrious, what's going on, baby? I was like, sounds good. And people are asking to take pictures of me. So I think it's slowly starting to get its due. I think fans are starting to appreciate the art that I bring into the octagon, to where, you know, I fought one of the most dangerous men in the octagon who has that one-punch knockout power, and I walked out of that fight unscathed or anything.
It is a challenge, I think, of UFC, and has been, you know, to win over people like me and who are wrestling, who like I spend money on wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And I used to spend money on boxing.
Yep.
And I do occasionally. I didn't pay for Floyd's for this fight, but I paid for other Floyd fights or fights that really mean something. I would pay for Canelo, the Canelo fight that's coming up soon, with Cotto.
Yep.
So in specific situations, I will pay, but over time, I watched UFC 1. I was on board from 1, and then there's a time when it like faded out after like 10 or whatever. And for me to come back, what's been a key component is personalities being injected into it. Because what I've always said is that the difference between, besides many other things, from a personality standpoint, professional wrestlers are great at providing entertainment because as much as they're into action and violence, they're not all the way into it, and that part of their personality is replaced by performance art and wanting to act. Whereas a lot of you guys, that part's not replaced. It's actually pure crazy motherfucker. I'm down to get in there and really go for mine.
Yeah.
Which is a line that's different between most wrestlers and UFC competitors. But then every once in a while, you get a Conor McGregor, you get a Ronda Rousey, you get these people who transcend and become bigger than just the action. So it does feel like, and tell me if you agree, that it's kind of up to you guys to display your personality and have the opportunity to take this thing further than it was for many years in the past.
I think the biggest thing you see, the two difference is that when you go to WWE, people can go out there. I'm going to come out there, The Rock, he's like, you smell what I'm cooking? You know, he gets his eyebrow going, then he gets out, does his rock bottom, he takes his sleeve off. He's doing a show. Whereas for, I think as martial artists, there's way more on the line. When you go out there, a promoter doesn't dictate who's going to win the fight or who's going to lose. You know, with that being said,
not in UFC, in boxing perhaps, but in
boxing,
UFC,
yeah, touche. With UFC, there's none of that, so there's a little more emotional attachment there to where Ali Quinta is a good example. When he went out there and he fought his butt off, he literally out there and went out and had a fist fight for thousands of people around the world, and they sat there and booed him, and he goes, "You gonna boo me?" You know, and he cussed everybody out. You know, for me, I'm like, good for you, Ali Quinta, because you have any right. I've been in fights. I haven't been in a fight, but I've been in a fight where I've sat next to a fan and he started booing a fight. And I told him to shut the hell up. And he goes, oh, come on, bro. And I was like, no, you need to shut the fuck up right now. I was like, you don't know what's going on.
What was he booing for? What was his reason?
Because he didn't understand what was going on. I was like, if you don't know what's going on, shut the hell up. Like, I told him straight up. I was like, if people have a problem with that, then come see me. Like, I'll legitimately tell you that you should not be booing.
Well, is there a time when you think you should be booing at a UFC fight?
No,
though?
absolutely not. Because
what if the effort on both ends is just poor, or you don't think you ever see that?
Yeah. Okay. So there are times where people are getting tired and they're gassed. You don't boo. You just say, okay, I'm gonna sit back. It's almost like watching tennis. People watch tennis like, oh, tennis is boring. Or when I watch golf, I think golf is boring. I don't sit there and boo, but I just don't watch it. But I understand how the technique that goes into a person, like, he's gonna line up. He's going that way, okay? He's gonna take. Yeah, hang on.
Don't golf. I don't want you to ever golf, Mighty Mouse.
Well, my friend's trying to get me to golf. I'm just gonna go for the entertainment value. But with that being said, when you hear when people are like, oh, there's no personality, and it's like, dude, I'm going to put my livelihood on the line. Like, so if you don't know who the type of person I am, that's totally fine. Like, yes, we all know what type of person Ronda Rousey is, but we have no idea who she is behind closed doors. We just don't know because we're not her true friends. Just like John Jones. Everybody thought John Jones was, you know, this Christian and I do everything, you know, through the Savior of God and all stuff. And John Jones is a good guy. I have nothing against him. But then when people hear that, oh, he does drugs and all that stuff, and it's like, we've never knew John Jones did drugs. And it's like, you don't know the real John Jones unless you're his wife or his close friends. So when people talk about personality with mixed martial arts, I have a very not a sour taste, but I have no... Well,
I was going to say two things though. Well, one, I want to get back to John Jones because he's very interesting. But also, before we even do that, what about like let's use boxing as an example instead. There have been times when I've been to a fight before, and I will say that like you're watching two guys, and I'm not an idiot. I'm not some person who's watching for the first time. It's like, why are they holding? I don't mean that. I'm talking about when you show up and you can see that the effort on both ends, it's just two guys collecting a check.
Yeah.
And they're really not going for it.
Yeah.
And generally a smart boxing crowd in a place like New York or Vegas where they're accustomed to seeing fights, you will get the boo birds when that happens if you're not really performing.
Yeah.
But you're saying in UFC you don't think that's often the case.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. People do boo.
And do people loaf? But you saying, are there ever times in UFC, when you've seen people loaf and you're like, these dudes aren't really going for it the way they should?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that. And are they tired as hell? Absolutely. You know, heavyweights, they go out there and they lay on each other, tired and all that stuff. And the uneducated people out there will boo. But for me, I'm like, man, they probably tired. Maybe I start thinking in my mind, man, I'm an athlete. Or even as a fan perspective, I'll think to myself, man, they should spend more time on their cardio. They should come better prepared. Maybe they shouldn't start as fast out of the gate. I look at it as a standpoint. It's almost like watching a game of chess, and a person goes, makes all these moves, and he's out of the game super quick. Or you see a chess game where he's like, your turn. Okay. That's how I see. That's how I visualize things. The person next to me who's too dumb to think like that doesn't see it that way. So he reverts to, boo, boo, come on.
Do something. Why are you holding each other?
Why are you holding each other?
How weird is the John Jones story, though? This is a shocking twist in terms of it appeared as if at some point John Jones would be involved in the most lucrative UFC fight ever. Like that was where it was supposed to go, right? Is that at some point, we don't know necessarily who the opponent would have been. Now it doesn't appear that the Silva thing would have ever happened, but at some point, John Jones would have been involved in the most lucrative fight ever, and now this is a guy who we don't know if we're ever going to see this guy again.
We'll see him again. He'll be back. I think John Jones is an amazing athlete. He's a credible person, and I think he's going to beat this. And, he's still young. He's only 28 years old, and he seems to be the type of athlete that he can come back for things. And I think when he gets done with all his legal issues, he'll come back.
Do you know him personally at all?
I don't know him personally, but we hung out before. So I'm not, like, when I say we hung out, some people are like, yeah, man, I know him personally. We hung out.
No, too. You've, like, hung out next to him. And
hung out next to him. Yeah, that's, we talked, and that's about it. And I could see just the way he carries himself and how he trains and the art he brings in the octagon. I can see him being a champion. And I think when he comes back, he'll probably beat DC again and be a champion and keep on making his money.
Now, at the risk of making your friends here from the UFC get a little antsy, the Diaz story is a weird one. I'm getting a lot of people hitting me up about this, asking me over and over again what I think about it. And my gut reaction is I just am like, it does seem like a very strong suspension given the crime.
Yeah.
What's the feeling of from you and other fighters that you've spoken to?
Yeah, so I haven't spoken to any fighters personally, like one man-to-man or face-to-face, but on Twitter, you see everybody saying, oh, it's harsh. Even Ronda Rousey said it's harsh, and I totally understand where they're coming from. I'm not a big drug user. Whether you need it for medical reasons or for fun, cocaine, whatever it is. But the fact that, this is his third time being caught, and he does have a medical marijuana card. And I told everybody, I said, guys, the big, simple, this would never happen. Stop fucking smoking weed when you're 2 weeks out from your fight. So, this would never be, happen. But then people are like, well, he has his medical stuff, which that's whatever. But for me, people are like, oh,
for you, it's cut and dry. If you know you're not supposed to do it and there's going to be a repercussion, don't do it.
Exactly. Yeah. But people are like, I'm never fighting in Vegas again. I'm like, that's fine. I'm still fighting in Vegas. I love fighting in Vegas.
I mean, listen, I don't fight anywhere, but if I did fight for money, I would imagine I'd want to fight in Vegas.
Exactly.
There's a lot of money there to be had.
Yeah, and when you see people like, oh, I'm never fighting, it's like, that doesn't involve me, and people are talking about, oh, this is rallying the fighters together, and, I just think it's a shame that something like this has to rally the fighters together, and I'm just, I signed the petition, don't get me wrong, I signed it, I think 5 years that's his career. He's pretty much done. But at the same time, it's...
You think it's too much, but you don't have tons of sympathy because he knew the repercussion.
Exactly. I just don't have ton of sympathy. He's like, dude, stop smoking weed. Like, I understand you need it. Maybe if you need the weed to calm you down to get ready for a fight, maybe you shouldn't be fighting the UFC. Maybe you should fight somewhere else where they allow marijuana use.
Yeah, like maybe there should be a full league just for people who get high all the time. Yeah. It would be a totally different kind of fight.
Hey, I bet you they'll get good numbers.
Like, it would be a totally different vibe. Like, everyone's like, relax, bro.
Yeah, no more brewers. Like,
dude, it's been 5 minutes is too long.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
For me, it's just relaxing. Gonna get back in the gym, working on my craft, trying to get better, and hopefully we're looking for February 5th in Las Vegas.
Where do you live?
I live in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, so you're a Seahawks fan since birth?
Well, I want to go birth, but I was born in Kentucky, so I don't know if Kentucky has
How long you been in Seattle?
Man, since second grade. So
a long time.
So a long damn time.
Sir Mix-a-Lot or Macklemore? What's more?
Oh God, don't even go. Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Not a Macklemore fan.
I am not.
Why not? Why are you so anti-Macklemore?
Just not a fan.
Just not your cup of tea.
Just not my cup of tea. Especially when guys like, see, I'm a big fan where, when I look at myself as a person or a father, I didn't have a father, and I've never resorted to drugs. I've gone through hard times in my life, and I've been depressed, I guess you can say. I've never resorted to drugs. So when I see a famous figure like that, and then he relapses again, and people, they might go, oh, well, he relapsed, and he might, for me, I'm like, dude, like, I just don't know. Like, I just can't relate to somebody who.
But he's clean now. He's been clean for years now.
Well, he just relapsed not too long ago.
Macklemore did?
Like a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, a relapse of Jace. What did he do? He got high on something?
No, he got high?
How many years ago?
Just recently.
A year ago. Like right before his wife got pregnant.
He told us, hey, I relapsed a year ago.
Yeah.
And what was his drug of choice when he relapsed? Weed?
Yeah.
That's not a relapse.
See,
That's
so I apologize. See, when I heard relapse, I thought he was like.
No. He didn't like derail.
The thrift store.
No, he wasn't outside the thrift store
Yeah.
hustling for crack
exactly.
money.
And it's, I just, it's just not type. If I hear it on the radio station, will I turn the channel? Yes.
You will turn the channel. So who are you listening to these days? What puts you in this?
Drake, Meek Mill, Ray Shmurda. I mean, I even listen to some rock and roll here and there. I mean, it's just all whatever. The Weeknd, I'm a huge fan of his. Kanye West. I mean, so I like all types of genre of music.
Just not Macklemore.
Not Macklemore.
In spite of the fact that you're in Seattle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is gonna be a serious problem. Now I hope you don't have your third fight outside of the ring. You versus Macklemore. Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. Maybe February we'll see you back in the ring in the octagon again.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yo, good luck. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Yeah.
And
hey, what do you think about my personality, huh? You think it's something you're gonna tune into, or
I'm interested.
Oh, okay,
I'm interested.
That's good. We can work with that.
Yeah, no, I'm interested. I think you have a compelling story, and I think your personality and the fact that honestly, like I didn't realize before I started reading about you today just how small you were. I think that's intriguing. Like for me, first of all, I know. Heavyweights in UFC to me are not like heavyweights in boxing.
Yeah.
Like, well, first of all, boxing hasn't had a good heavyweight or a great heavyweight, I should say.
The new heavyweight champion, he's a beast.
He's exciting. There's some potential right now.
Yeah.
But we're looking at basically a 10-year gap in boxing. I mean, the Klitschko era is basically marred by the fact that they would never fight each other.
Did they lose? Has any one of those Klitschko brothers lost?
Not in years. Vlad hasn't lost a fight in years.
But they've all been defeated though, right?
Yeah, at some point, yes.
I feel
Vlad and Vitaly have both lost.
I feel like the new heavyweight champion could beat Mayweather's record with his athletic ability and how fast he moves and how young he is. I think he can beat Mayweather's record.
Really?
I believe so.
Because it's hard for me to imagine a heavyweight could ever get to 49 fights without getting knocked out.
He's like 21, 22.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Mike got to 37. Tyson got to 37.
37-0.
Yeah. So, like, it's a long way.
That is true.
Especially because as time goes on, once the money starts coming in, then you're only fighting twice a year. So you're getting older too fast.
Touche.
It's very hard. Anyways, I'm interested. It was nice to meet you. I'm excited to see you hopefully in February.
Yep.
And thank you for coming by.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Yep.